Yes.
Hi, I'm Jimena.
And I'm Fernanda.
And we're going to explain you some topics that we saw on the partial.
Okay.
So the first topic that I'm going to explain you is the functions. The functions are the relationship between two sets. And these sets can be inputs and outputs. And the functions have three main parts, which are the inputs, that are the value of x, the relationship, that is the operation, and the output, that is the final result.
And I'm going to explain the composition of functions. They evaluate the x and they apply one function to the result of another. There are four types of composition of functions: the addition, the difference, the product, and the divisions. The only thing that changed in the process of these ones is that in addition you add the difference, you rest the functions, and so with the product and the divisions.
So now I'm going to explain you some exercises about the composition of functions. So first, what we need to do is to look at the fx and the gx. This is the thing that they are doing with the x. So as we can see here, the fx is what it's doing with the x is to look for the square of it. As well, this is the same thing with the gx. So what we need to do is to put this, and then we need to substitute the gx, that is here. So we put x squared, and then what we're going to do is that this becomes our new x. So this x, we're going to change it with the thing that it says here. So what we're going to do is to put an x squared, but as we have already an x squared, we need to multiply the coefficients, and then we get this result. In the next example, we can see that the fx is looking for the square root of x, and then the gx is looking for the 2 minus x square root. So now we're going to do the same thing. We evaluate this part, and then we get that we need to do what the fx is telling us to do with the new x. So the new x is going to be at the square. So as we have two square roots, the square roots multiply themselves, and then we get a 4 square root of 2 minus x. The next example says that the fx, what it's going to do with the x is to find this and add a 2. And then the same thing is that we're going to look for what it's doing the gx with the x, and in this case we can see that it's looking for this. So now we need to change everything and substitute our values. So what we're going to do is that we add the gx in here, and then as we have a new x, we do the thing that is telling us here. So the thing that is telling us here is that the x is going to be with a 3 coefficients, and then we need to add 2. So as we can see here, we have a 3 and a 3, and these are cancelled, so we can have a result of x plus 2. Then we're going to work with divisions. So as we can see here, the fx is dividing 2 over x, and the gx is going to divide x over x plus 2. So what we're going to do is the same thing as we did with all the other examples. We need to change this part in here, and then we need to change it again. So the result that we got is that 2 over x plus 2. So what we need to follow is the sandwich rule in order to have a result. So what we are going to do here is to add a 1 in the 2 because it is because we need to do the rule. So we follow it and we multiply 2 by x plus 2, and we got 2x plus 4, and then we need to multiply 1 plus x, and we get as a result 2x plus 4 over x. And our last example of this is that fx is equal to x over x plus 1, and the g is evaluating x as x and with coefficients. So what we're going to do is to change, as we already did, and then we need to change the x's. So here's the x, here's another x, and then we just add 1. And that's all. So as I said, I'm going to explain you some examples of the topics that we saw before. I'm going to show you functions. So here, the thing that you're going to have is an x. For example, in this case, I have as an x a 3. And then we have an equation. So what we need to do is to change our x in the equation and put the number that is given to us. So here, for example, we have 3, so we change the 3 in the x's that we have. So I change the x and I put 3, and then I make the square of 3 and it's 9, and then I multiply it by 3. And this is how I get the result. So then in the second example that I have is that x is equal to 5. So here I did the same exact thing. I just changed the 5 in the x's for the 5 that is given to us. Then I make the square of 5, that is 25. Then I multiply it by 2, that is then I got a result of 50, and then I add 10, and that's how I get the result of 6. Then, in this example, we can see that we have as an x the 2, and as we explained to you, there is not an exact name for the function, so it can be any name, and in this example, I have a b. So here I did the same exact thing. I changed the 2, so I multiply 6 by 2, then I find the square of 2, and after that I multiply it by 20, and that's how I get 12 and minus 2 plus 80, and as a result I have a 90. Then we can do the same thing, and the x can be also negative, so we put an example with a negative x. So in this example, the only thing that I did was to replace the minus 8 for the x. Then I replace it, and then I multiply it by the number that is multiplying the x, and I get a result of minus 2,560. And then as the final example, I have that the x is equal to 12, and the function of x, no, we need to get the function of car. So I did the same thing. I replace all the x's, I multiply it by the numbers that are multiplying the x, I make an addition and a subtraction, and then as a final result, I get 157,160. So now we're going to see another examples for the other topics.